How you guys? My name is Bistah. Well, my formal name is Walter Tivande. Named myself Bistah after my sporting career, playing rugby. So I was the rugby star. So it happens I was a creative athlete, and so I nicknamed that rugby. Dropped out eventually to form the name Bistah. I was raised on the bluff, well, in the Midlands, more River boarding school all my life most of the time, and I think that's where I kind of flourished as a creative, as an artist, because what would happen is in boarding school would have socials and would have concerts. They would create, auditions and socials. So what I did at the time, I think I always knew I was that much of a creative, as a musician, and so I always get the chance when there's a social, when there's a concert, I'd go do auditions, and I always had a song on top of my head to perform, whether it was the Michael Jackson song performance or whatsoever, or a class performance, I was there to do it. Yeah, in boarding school at Clifton Prep, so I had the opportunity to do a lot of art, because it was kind of a boarding school but kind of on a farm environment, so there was a lot of outdoor activities. So but the fun part of it was that I got to do a lot of artsy stuff, whether it's concerts or painting, whatever it is, horse riding, whatever, artsy stuff. So you get to explode your mind, so your creativity begins to just blossom. And in that I found myself like, yo, I love this. Academics, and then those sports as well, which I was, flourishing as well. Once I moved to Durban, I kind of was accepted in the school mainly for rugby, to which I literally was flourishing as an athlete. But then I was suppressing my artistic self. So what I did over time in high school, as I was growing up, I began to kind of venture into my hip-hop music, buying CDs, start playing music, start learning how to write, study the artists, at the time, the Ludacris, whether it was, Busta Rhymes, I'd be listening to them over and over and over, and I'd learn how to write my lyrics in such a way that I began to formulate my artist. Then now this was Bistah. So over time there was the rugby Bistah, but then the Bistah began to come through as the writer and the singer, and in that I began to find my voice. So what I had to do, I had to make a choice. I had to start seeing myself whether as an artist or as an athlete. But because I think as an artist, it was something that you're born with, it's really deep within you, that began to overtake the athlete. And that part was in high school. By the time I finished high school, I had it, my choice was more, okay, I'm gonna play semi-pro rugby, but I also need to get my career going. I'm a creative person, but at the same time, I needed, how do I monetize for my creativity? Because rugby can only take you so far. So I began to focus on that. I started investing in my musical career, meaning building my own studio, building my own setup type of situation. And then in the process, I got to meet a lot of creatives, a lot of artists, to whom I took under my wings as well. And we taught each other how to be, artists, how to prevail in the music industry based in Durban, based on the bluff. And we began to help one another. And artists around me began to flourish, and I started to see the formula on how to establish yourself and how to work the industry, both financially and still keep true to yourself artistically. Okay, so we began to formulate a plan, a program to which we'll begin to take not-established artists and try to put it into the system, into the broader mass system in the industry, mass industry. So in that we got to change ideas, learning how to, create events, how to establish yourself into platforms, creating platforms like SIRE itself, work alongside people that are also establishing themselves, always taking yourself back to ground zero, humble yourself and work your way up. So that was the initial idea. So we built on that. I established the company Bistah Entertainment Media. I began to watch a lot of YouTube, learn how to do videography, because one of the things we were dealing with, one of the barriers was shooting music videos. We couldn't get music video directors to really since we were creatives, have these crazy ideas in our heads, but I don't think they could really, they could duplicate the ideas that we had. So we began to learn how to do through YouTube, tutorials, learned how to direct, how to shoot, how to edit, how to mix and master sound. And in that we built a little network and a company. Later on, we're going to create the Spotted movement, which is also creating a platform for artists, creatives, not just for ourselves, but also those around us, because you begin to grow with a group of people, and you see those who are in your steps, few steps back, those who are in your position. In that process, we got to meet a lot of people. Some of them got to succeed really well in the network. I think in between 2013, 14, 15, we got to work all from the bottom level before they were successful. People like Nasty C, they were all around in the same program, same process on the bluff. With me, A1 Wolf was out there. This is before that. WTF, Breeze, the trendsetter. Then trendsetter, now the Zulu Bass King, and of course Gemini Major. Amongst many people who got across with Breeze and people that at the time were just on the come up with their career. So we got to formulate a system of understanding of how the game works in the industry. But a lot of them, what had happened is they had to move to Joburg for greener pastures. So we just decided, look, people like myself and A1 Wolf, really Durban natives, we really felt like, we gotta do something to really create the foundation, so that we can harness the artists, the creatives in Durban to stay in Durban and still monetize from their creativity. So that's where I am today. It was amazing. I think working with you guys behind the scene, it gave me immediately. That's why I jumped on board immediately, because I know exactly what that meant as a creative, but also a person behind putting together creative work. I understood what it meant, and there was no financial need for that. The motivation was just that we knew we're exactly in the same thinking, the same line that I was in that process, like I told you earlier on, of creating a platform where creatives get a chance to exhibit their art. So SIRE did exactly what at the time, and it's still yet this period we're going through, through COVID, putting music and creatives in a platform in the social medias and on the internet. What I would like to see from SIRE do from this point forth, I would like to see consistency. I'd like to see more, reach out to more creatives. There's an abundant amount of talent in KZN that needs the platform. So SIRE can go as far. I know you guys can get out there and reach out to more creatives and invite them in. I know there's a large market, and some creatives actually get discouraged the moment they don't feel like they're not getting attention or recognition, and they honestly give up their passion just before, sometimes at the brink of them breaking into the industry. And that's the sad part. I've seen this happen way too many times. So what SIRE and amongst other platforms like Spotted itself is to build a little bit of hope, and that we're here, we are watching, come through. You never know what this little snippet of you performing will do to somebody else. It might motivate another kid who's creative, or might even find someone who's a big brand, a large corporate brand that looks into you and says, you know what, that makes a connection with my brand. I think I should, make an effort to invest in that individual or in the program itself. So I'm excited to what's to come. I know it's a rough start at a rough year, but there's a long way to go. There's a lot of work to do. You guys just stick to the script, up a little bit, juice it up a little bit, and let's go. being a creative itself is a challenge. It is challenge all the way. There is no thing as no challenge, as in there's no smooth sailing about being a creative in any place, I would think. But being in the city of KZN in Durban, it is so much harder because I don't think the creative space is as broad, or the spotlight is not as intense, which means you don't get that much of an opportunity. It is overall just challenges, but it's because of those challenges that we persevere. It's because of those challenges that we become successful artists, those that did make as creatives outside of KZN. It's because that they faced those challenges and they were able to find the way out of those challenges, because those challenges build character. To find difficulties and overcoming them, it is what is going to sustain you at the top of your game over and over. Make dealing with difficult situations a norm. As creatives, that is just one thing we have to take it as part of its standard. Because the moment you begin to think you're gonna be creative and it's gonna be smooth sailing, you're gonna get everything coming to you, you have mistaken. I think you start looking at another, line of job, because this is a challenge in itself. First of all, because the industry is not wide enough in KZN. Secondly, there's a lot of old way of thinking that creatives is almost like a hobby. It's not a job. When you're a photographer, videographer, you're a foodie or graphic designer, you begin to think, but you look at today's industry, it is built on the backbones, a lot of creatives. The things we look on the TV, on the screen, on the poster, everything, these are creatives, people just didn't pay attention to that as an industry or as a money-making method. Yes, it has its ups and downs, and that's where we have to come with it. But I faced all those challenges, not having money, not having space to work in, not having the things that you need, the resources. But you gotta be creative if you wanna be creative. You gotta be resourceful, you gotta be creative. If you don't have it, make something up, make it work, make what makes it work. Even if it's a low grade, you're trying, you're gonna get there.
Just tell us about your creative process for creating the music.
So I would say, people, first and foremost, I'll just tell people, don't put me in a box. I'm not just a musician. I'm not just a photographer, videographer. I'm not just an event organizer. All these things that fall on, I'm not just all of that. So there's many creative processes. Each one differs. So when I'm creating, I'll go back to the original part, being music, being the original, one of my origin of my creativity. Creating music, I think the way it came to me was by my grandparents playing guitar and my mom humming to me when I was a kid, as a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, when she'd be singing, lullabies. And the best example was she would be singing to put me to sleep, and I'll be singing along with her. So much so I'll be singing that she'll fall asleep and I'll continue singing. So the roles had reversed. That's when, when she would tell me that, and I know it was like, yo, so you'd be singing and I'd out-sing you and you fell asleep, So when I'm creating music, I love to listen first, just the melodies will come up. I like to listen to the instrumental, the beat, and I start humming. I start with the humming. And the humming, just like you're a kid, you hum, and the words begin to come out. Because you're creating a melody, and the words begin to come out. As those words begin to come out, try at least get your voice note or something, record it or write it down. Because we're very quick to forget these words. So it's not gonna feel the same 2 minutes after. And when you do that, and then you have now the root of your creativity, of your song. So when you go to the studio, now you begin to put meat on that bone. It's just the bone first, and you just put meat on it in pieces, and you start writing your songs, and hopefully you come up with something really catchy and enjoyable, and with a message. That's where I am today. Like when I'm writing now, I always have a subliminal. Either it's a very blunt message or a very subliminal message. Still making impact no matter what. Yeah.